Time travel within one's own lifetime is possible, according to Dr. Samuel Becket and Admiral Al Calavicci. They developed the time travel technology, and behold, it worked. Episodes 5 and 6 are complete misdirects that maybe aren't to make things right, but to tweak things that were mildly annoying the first time around. So he was supposed to go back home already. Maybe worked is a bit of a leap. The Fantasmagorium Show proudly presents In the Loop, a Quantum Leap celebration. I am Scotty R37, Antiderivative Jill is here, and Steve will be calculating the odds on how Ziggy gets us out of here. Hey Jill, what's going on?
Hello. Not too much is going on, but it doesn't even matter how my day's going. Just putting this show on and seeing the opening credits makes me so happy.
Yeah, totally. Oh, yeah. We could, and I think we've talked about it so far in every episode in terms of our show, not Quantum Leap, but I still, it's one of those shows that I do not skip the intro.
Right. No, I never skipped the intro for this, and I'm so glad you asked if we could make a podcast about this because, you make jokes about new podcasts, so I'm glad this one was real.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And we will talk all about it next Tuesday on our podcast about podcasts.
Right.
It'll be called Podcastin'. Anyway, what did you think of this week's double bill? Because we are covering episodes 5 and 6, How the Test Was Won, and Double Identity.
Well, these episodes were all right. This is a season 1, so things are just gearing up, and the storytelling is just getting started, and they're building the character development of Sam and Al.
Mm-hmm. And sort of the in and out of the imaging chamber on when Al can pop in and pop out, which is kind of inconvenient for the first one. The second one seems a little bit more natural, but we'll get to the second episode. We do have to get into the first one first.
Yes. And we get the external drama of things that happen behind the scenes that we don't really get to see, but Al is experiencing.
Yes, which is, oh, and before we get into Classic, the original Quantum Leap, I wanted to say about the reboot for Quantum Leap.
All right. Did you watch that?
No.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. There's my review of episode 2 of the reboot of Quantum Leap. I did not tune in.
And that's always optional.
Well, yeah. But I don't even feel badly about it because, as you mentioned, we get to hear sort of what's going on at Project Quantum Leap through Al's narration, like through retelling what's going on behind the scenes. And in the reboot, what I saw in the first episode, they actually follow Madison. Or no, Addison. Her name is Addison, is the hologram from the future. And they actually follow her back into Project Quantum Leap, and you see it all, which kind of takes away from the characterization of the hologram lady. In this one, you get so much more about Al because he's explaining what's going on, not only with Ziggy, but also with his love life and his philandering and with Gushy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do get to learn more about him personally rather than just being... Well, I don't know. I haven't watched the new show, so I don't really exactly know what Addison's like.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Before we leap back to 1956, how do you like my Al Calavicci coat?
It's great.
Is it too loud?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
But that's what it's supposed to be.
It is true. Next week, I'm planning on getting a cigar for the show. It's going to stink up the place, but it'll be great. Which also, it reminds me of, and I think I mentioned this before, it's one of the great things about Dean Stockwell. It's like, why did you decide to smoke cigars as the character? And he's like, how else was I going to get free cigars for 5 years? So, hopefully.
For real?
For real, yep. That was in an interview. And they were like, so was it a personal choice? Did they make you smoke cigars? And he's like, nah, I just figured I wanted free cigars.
Well, if you don't want to stink up your place, you could just have it around as a prop. You don't have to light it.
Just hold it?
If you want.
I guess. I don't know.
But of course, smoking is kind of your thing, too. So it's up to you.
You know, I will quit someday. Everybody keeps telling me they want me around for longer.
I do.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate it. Before we get into it, don't forget that the Fantasmagorium Show does have a website. I'll probably be posting my episode 7 review of She-Hulk on there at some point this weekend. And yes, I'm still watching She-Hulk. We do have a merch store. It is sweater weather. And if you'd like to support the show and have people try and pronounce something that's printed on your chest, I would highly recommend it. It helps us keep the lights on, and you get something to wash. But if you do not want to wash it, you can always go and check out streamelements.com/phantasmagorium show/tip if you would like to, once again, support. But if you're not obligated in any stretch of the imagination. Just liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, tell your friends. We do shows all over the place, and it would be great if you would be able to assist. And speaking of the people who are assisting, I wanted to say hello to the chat. We do have Stephen Ransom is here. Good day. The man who never sleeps and is always on the internet. And Simone is here. Simone, thank you. One of the Phantasmagorium tent poles, load-bearing members. I don't know how to say it properly, but she's always around. She's always awesome. She's supporting at the Facebook page. Thank you so much for being here, Simone. Oh boy, excited that I get to join the party live today. I'm listening while working in the office. Well, I hope that we are adequately annoying everyone in the office. And when you say office, you mean the kitchen. So
Yes.
thank you again.
Yes, hello to Stephen Ransom and Simone.
Thanks for being here. And, well, I guess we should step into the accelerator and leap, right?
Yes.
All right. So, welcome to Project Quantum Leap. We get a brief recap. We're not necessarily getting the classic introduction, though. We're still on Sam narrating how Project Quantum Leap went a little caca.
Yes. Yes, we'll have that same intro until the end of the season.
Oh, is it straight through till the end of the season? I was kind of hoping it would
Yes.
switch over. Oh,
It
right.
switches over in season 2.
Oh, okay, that's good. Something to look forward to.
Yeah. Right.
And we see the last leap where he was helping nuns.
Yes, he helped Sister Angela build her chapel.
Yes. And he leaps into, holding a pig.
Mm-hmm. This episode first aired on, the name of the episode is How the Test Was Won.
Mm-hmm.
And it first aired April 14th, 1989. It was written by Eric Lean.
Mm-hmm.
And directed by Ivan Dixon.
Excellent. Oh, man. Never work with children or animals, but if you're Scott Bakula, you got both. So there's Tess with Chance. Chance was played by Lance Legault. And Lance Legault apparently is best known. I didn't recognize him, but I went and I checked out his Wikipedia. And apparently he was U.S. Army Colonel Roderick Decker in the television show The A-Team.
Mm-hmm.
And typically this is the part where I talk about all the fantastic guest stars that are in this episode. And nope, no one I really recognized.
Just that.
Just
him.
he. Yes.
And he's Tess's father. And Sam has leapt into Texas in August 5th, 1956.
Into a veterinary doctor, Daniel Young. Not that he knows that quite yet.
And based on who we see later in the episode, it's actually most likely Lubbock, Texas that we're in.
That's, you know what? It just occurred to me because I was like, I wonder where else, like geographically, he's going to leap. I think it's all in the United States. Oh, wait, no, there's a Vietnam episode. So maybe he goes other places. I'm just wondering if he's ever going to leap into Canada.
I don't know.
Neither do I.
I watched this series originally all out of order. So I don't remember.
Neither do I. But we are introduced to Chance and Tess is, for lack of a better term, a cowboy.
Yeah, she's a cowboy. She's a cowgirl. She's pretty delightful. She doesn't allow herself to be pushed. She doesn't want to be pushed into a relationship. She just wants to be able to take care of the ranch herself. But you know how parents are trying to direct your life, and how the children's job it is to push back and create their own dreams and challenges that mean more to them. And she has talent enough to make her own way, and that seems to be the struggle for the episode. At
It does
least I
seem
was,
that way.
at least I was hoping for that to be it, and it was sort of touches on it.
Well, and as the opening narration does sort of indicate, Sam is leaping from life to life to set things right that once went wrong. And so the process of this episode, especially like right off the bat, Chance says to Tess that, well, you're going to have to marry someone. It is 1956 after all, and you can't have a
True.
woman running the ranch.
Right.
And so she is headstrong. She doesn't want to have to deal with the bow-legged nincompoops who are the ranch hands. And
Yes, and her father's raised her that way too.
oh, absolutely. It's a really I enjoy the dynamic between Chance and Tess. There is a loving father-daughter relationship.
Agreed.
But so when confronted with, all right, you have to marry someone, she says, well, I don't want any of those monkeys. She says, well, then I'll marry Doc if he can beat me at a contest of ranching.
And she thinks she's okay here. She thinks she still doesn't have to marry anybody because she doesn't have any confidence that Doc could actually win any sort of contest because he's a veterinarian, not a ranch hand.
Right. And also, and this is kind of neat because we don't actually get to see Doc until the end of the episode as sort of a weird punchline to the show, the entire show,
Right.
which was, I guess an O. Henry sort of ending, but it's a twofold O. Henry ending anyway. So
Yeah, usually we get to see the mirror reveal early in the episode so Sam can acclimate to who he is and who he's trying to be. But we don't get that here. And then I realized that whomever he leapt to was probably the one that she's supposed to marry. But it doesn't. That's what the episode wants you to believe. So they do play with the predictability factor, and they realize it was predictable, so they do change it up a bit for that. But I don't know if just changing it up just to make it not predictable was helpful at all to the story.
well, it seems like it's going to be a matchmaking episode.
Hmm.
And that's how Sam sort of sees it. But he's covered in mud and somewhat humiliated, and he has to take care of this pig to find out what's wrong with it, Piggy, which everyone kind of finds to be, really, you called the pig Piggy. All right, all right. So he takes Piggy back to his veterinary office, which is also his house.
Sure, and it also plays into how Sam is already a doctor and how he grew up on a farm. So those two traits transfer into helping him with this task.
Yes. And what's the name of that guy? I forget what his name was.
Um, the main guy, is that the
The
main guy?
the other cowboy. The cowboy who's like, I can't believe you're gonna Doc can't do it.
Yeah, Wayne.
Wayne, that's right. And so Wayne is sort of needling Tess at the fact that Doc is not necessarily the best choice around. Hints of jealousy, if you will. And here's the how the Tess was won. The title of the episode, August 5th, 1956, as you mentioned. And it's beautiful outdoors. It's a beautiful vistas and sort of Western imagery throughout this episode. And there we have a young man on a guitar. Not this image particularly. This would be a goat. And that's a puppy. And there he is. Man with no name as of yet.
Yes, getting inspiration from his surroundings for his songs. And he's here largely because he's doing work on Doc's farm or little house, homestead, whatever.
Yeah, he seems to be sort of a veterinary nurse,
Mm-hmm.
a farmhand, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And this is sometimes, and there is again with most of these episodes, there's a narration of Sam trying to piece together what is going on, and he says sometimes it's a little tough to figure out what he's supposed to do, and other times it just presents itself. So we go to Daniel Young, doctor of veterinary medicine. And thank you, by the way, for putting together the slides for this as well.
You're welcome. My pleasure. I think it's
Thank you.
fun.
Good, good, good. So Doc ends up back at the farmhouse with the intention of helping the pig, and Al arrives and is just walking through walls, and it's off-putting for Sam. But Al's a little out of sorts because he's talking about Tina, his girlfriend in the far-off future, which we still don't know when it is, but we will discover later. Not in this episode, but later in the show.
Yes. And he's a little he's talking about a tattoo that she has in a super private spot.
And he's obviously jealous of it, of other men at this point as well, and asks Sam, have you ever seen the tattoo on Tina's private places? And Sam's
Yeah,
like, I
but
don't
then
even...
he's like, "You've been stuck in 1965. It couldn't have been you."
Mm-hmm. Well, and also Sam says, I don't even know who Tina is. I can't remember her.
Mm-hmm.
And Al is like, you're just blaming your Swiss cheese brain again.
Right. And this is an episode where Ziggy is completely wrong, thinking that Sam is there to cure the pig.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam is also wrong, thinking that he's there to marry Tess.
Yes. But Al seems looking around at all the animals. He's like, this'll be fun. Kind of making fun of that Sam situation.
Mm-hmm. And Sam is caring for the pig, and we find out that animals not only can feel the presence of Al, but they can really see him. They can just straight up see him.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of a neat thing for the lore, but also animal actors, they're not able to avert their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right. Right. And you can't tell a raccoon what to do.
no, I've tried.
I'm sure. Sam's theory is that he's there to marry Tess. And this is reinforced when he finds his diary that confesses Doc's love for her.
Yes.
And Ziggy says there's a 97% chance that someone who's been sending her love letters is the person who's going to marry her. And Sam's like, okay, it's a diary. It's love letters.
This will be easy. All I have to do is become a ranch hand now.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what I mean. It looks like the cinematography in this episode is really great, just showing the ranch and everything around. Basically, what some people are considering the prize of the episode. If you marry Tess, you get the ranch when chance passes on. So there's a series of... There we go. We go back. And first things first, he has to ride a horse. And he remembers back from his youth that the best way to do that is just look it in the eye and show it who's boss. And he's trying to...
his dad taught him.
Mm-hmm. And he's trying to he's trying to put the bridle on the horse. Unsuccessfully. And that's when Wayne shows up and tries to assist. Everyone else is sort of looking at him as if you don't know what you're doing. Which sort of fits with Doc as well. But he climbs on, takes a firm saddle, and promptly is thrown off. And Tess comes over and says, you idiot. You know no one can ride Widowmaker.
Except me.
Exactly. Tess is the manliest man on this ranch. And Wayne obviously manipulated the situation to make it look so Doc or Sam were, incapable or unworthy of Tess's love.
Yeah, right. I didn't quite see that. Did Wayne put Widowmaker there?
Yes.
Okay. I missed that part.
Well, and then Wayne says to Doc, "Sorry, Doc, just a little fun. We're just having fun. He could have died, but
Little cowboy humor.
little cowboy humor." And so, second test. It's a series of quests in this episode. Second test: rope a calf, I assume.
A lamb.
A lamb. I've obviously never been a ranch hand either. I would be as useless as Sam in this situation.
I would too. I haven't tried this myself. I've
Have
seen
you?
it done. I've been to rodeo, but I don't do it myself.
See, it's funny because if I went to a rodeo, I would say this is actually my first rodeo. But everyone is, and this is actually really good advice. I think this is good advice for anything. I think this is just some sage ranch wisdom. Chance comes over, and Sam's trying to figure out how to rope a lamb, and Wayne tells him that you start sort of wrap the and one end of the lasso around the horn of the saddle and let her fly, and he's just running willy-nilly all over the place for the closest one at any given moment, and Chance comes over and says, no, stick with one and follow it. It doesn't matter if another one gets closer or the one that you're chasing is going farther away. Stick with the one you want, which I think is great. That's like from ranching to video games to just true love. Pay attention to the one you want. Tess says to Wayne, did you tell him, to be careful about his thumb because it could really rip his thumb out if he does it incorrectly? And Wayne's like, doesn't say anything, and Sam obviously reacts to it to a certain extent.
Yeah, at this point, Sam does catch the lamb, but it escapes. And even though Sam isn't successful, he does successfully play a prank back on Wayne, making him think he hurt his thumb.
But he's just going, and it's the old removable thumb trick. Everyone's seen it. Everyone's done it. And they all get a good chuckle except for Wayne, who's obviously way too sensitive.
Mm-hmm. And they're heading to the bar to do some kind of transaction regarding bull.
Mm-hmm. It's they're selling one of the bulls to another rancher in the region, but there's going to be drinking and poker because cowboys.
Yes, and also Hank Williams is playing, and I only know that song, Cold Cold Heart, because I love the Shawshank Redemption, and it plays in that movie too.
Oh wow! Hey, you've seen the Shawshank Redemption? I'm always so happy and surprised when you've seen something.
I have seen the Shawshank Redemption several times. It is in my top 10, possibly number 1.
Wow, perfect.
Possibly. Next to Voyage Home, of course, Star Trek.
Of course. So they're playing the poker. Wayne is shooting some whiskey Sam's way, and he's like, no, I just want the beer. And it's like, I said drink it.
Yeah, right. Is being a cowboy, is part of being a cowboy forced alcoholism?
In 1956, it seems like it.
I guess. But no, I think it's just Wayne being a jerk, actually.
Well, but later on, Tess does say, I beat you at poker, I beat you at drinking. And so this is still part of the test.
Okay.
I think.
Possibly.
And then Al shows up and is sort of advising cheating for Sam, really. Which is, turnabout because Sam is told by Al.
Yeah, Al discovers that Wayne is cheating.
Mm-hmm. And so Sam accuses Wayne of cheating and says, that's a paddling. I'm gonna knock you out. And they're like, well, if you were so sure that he's cheating, there's the easiest way to figure it out is just check out his cards. And Sam says, yep, he's got
Mhm.
aces and eights.
Yes, and in the middle of all of this, we learn that Al is still worried about Tina. Tina has run off with Gushi.
Yes. And I don't know, do you remember what Gushy looks like from the first episode?
He's a short guy with bad breath. What more do you need to know?
Yeah, fair enough. He's not the most attractive of men, so I would be insulted if I were Al as well. But uh, having they check out the cards, and no, he doesn't have aces and eights. And Al's like, but I was sure of it. I was sure of it. And so they check Tess's hand, and it is indeed aces and eights.
Yes, so clearly Wayne switched the hands.
Mm-hmm. And so with that, because it's sort of been announced to the rest of the table that Wayne had aces and eights, and Tess knows that she has aces and eights. She goes over to the bar and sort of admonishes Wayne. And it's like, if I'm going to beat him, I'm going to beat him fair and square. You don't have to cheat for me. And Wayne's like, oh gosh, I thought I was helping.
Mhm.
Anyway, uh, where are you? Where'd you go? Here we go.
I moved to the next scene. I had to switch slides.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to say hello to Pleasant Valley Picker. How are you doing, sir?
Hello, Pleasant Valley Picker.
And he continues to say, even though I don't have any episodes to watch, it's interesting to hear about the episodes this way. Well, and these are great episodes to sort of scan over. When we get to the must-sees, we'll let you know.
I'm excited for those. Those are going to be great.
Yes,
There,
absolutely.
there are several I think that are going to be good.
And so now we're continuing on with the ranch hand business of the day, and Sam is one hunk of man meat glistening in the sun. I,
Yeah,
I,
there he
I'm
is.
envious. This is another one of those situations. Earlier this week, we watched The Naked Time, and we got to see Sulu with his shirt off. Now we get Sam Becket with his shirt off, and I am full of envy.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
But he is digging holes and posting, and Tess is overheating, and this is one of my one of my only notes for this episode is that what does Sam ask for or sort of recommend that Tess do? Take some salt tablets and some water. And again, reminding me of a Star Trek episode that we saw 2 weeks ago.
Yes, that's right. For some reason, even though she's an experienced cowgirl, she doesn't know to bring a canteen of water while doing a really heat exhaustive task in the sun. I don't. It doesn't really seem believable to me that she's doing this.
I think
It's
she,
unrealistic.
well, I think she's trying to show him up. Like she doesn't want to marry him at this point, but
Mhm.
it
You
doesn't
think
matter.
you think she's pushing herself too hard just to overcome
Hmm.
any possible.
Prejudices or I can do it. And well, and
Mhm.
this is an interesting sort of interaction between Tess and Sam, where it's like, oh, women's lib is going to love you, but there are certain things that men can do better than women, and there are certain things that women can do better than men,
Yeah,
like
for
having babies.
like having well, yeah, he really plays into the 50s male stereotype right there.
Which I don't know if that's something from Sam's characteristics, because later on, as the series goes on, they do sort of hint at the fact that there are residual personality like traits that are left when Sam leaps in. So there are things that he knows or how he reacts that are from the leapee, if you will.
Is that a fact? I've been wondering that myself. And
It
if that's true, then that makes what he just said a lot more sense.
and it does come to play later on, and most sort of obviously, it's most apparent when Sam eventually leaps into the historical figure that I referred to last week when he leaps into Lee Harvey Oswald. But that's a ways away. We don't have to worry about that for a while.
Yeah, for now we're worried about Tess and she's passed out from heat exhaustion. And Sam carries her to his house.
Where The young man, still with no name, uh, is assisting, getting water and salt tablets, and plugging in a fan to help Tess cool down because she has heat exhaustion.
Yeah. But after after she drinks some of that water, she realizes what state she's in. She's got her clothes taken off except for her bra and panties.
Hmm.
So she's quite offended by this and punches him in the face.
Well, as you would be.
Right.
Yeah,
It's totally acceptable here.
I think so. And so, but there's a storm brewing, and it's coming in hot. And so, the bespectacled boy says, "I got to get going because that storm looks like it's going to be a rough one." And Sam says Tess has to stay there for about an hour to cool down, and
Hmm.
continues reading the diary and explaining what's going on with Piggy. And now I forget, is there music playing when they dance at Doc's house?
There has to be. Why would they just dance?
Well,
Was there
two
music?
there's two other instances where they dance and there's no music.
You know what? I think you're right. It didn't bother me because maybe I was listening to the ambiance of the rain.
Yep, it's possible. I just thought it
So
was strange because
it
Doc's
is
like,
strange.
"Do you want to dance?" And it's like, "Well, there's no. Okay, I guess." So they do. They dance, and there's a little bit of swoon, but not much.
Mhm. That's a good point.
Sam Sam is still
So,
convinced this is what he's here for.
yes. And she pulls away from an attempted kiss when they agree that they've and then they agree that they've somehow tied in the contest. And I think she's just being nice at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, and then she says, you weren't supposed to tie me. You were supposed to beat me. And so this means I win. And Sam says, well, you owe me a tiebreaker.
Mhm.
And
And
she decides,
that she gives him the option of marrying her if he can ride Widowmaker.
which seems like a jerk move.
Right? It is. It
It
could kill
is.
him. He could
It,
be paralyzed.
it's true. Like, it's very dangerous if you have no experience on horseback. Although Sam does have a little bit of experience on horseback, although that was from his youth.
Yes,
Tess,
but she doesn't know that Doc has any such experience.
true.
And maybe she's feeling guilty about that because she's crying as she's going home. Or she knows he's not going to win.
And then
So,
she's going to be stuck with. Well, and that's also one of the
mhm,
driving forces is that she doesn't feel that Doc is going to be a forceful enough presence on the ranch because right now it's Chance who everyone sort of looks to get guidance as to what to do, and Doc is a bit of a milk toast from what I'm gathering. But did Doc already give Tess his diary with all of his sort of professions of love?
not yet.
Okay. Oh, right, they're going to church. That was the other thing. It was like, oh, well, we can do that tomorrow. And it's like, what are you going to do? Out pray me? And so everyone is prepping to go to church, but Sam is, for lack of a better term, hell bent for leather to prove himself on Widowmaker. And Al is, you know what? Al wants to help, but he's kind of distracted, still with Tina. And while trying to calm and comfort Widowmaker, gets a call from,
Tina.
yep, who apparently had run away to Vegas with Gushy, but now is
That's
calling
Arby's.
Al. Our Vegas. So Al takes the call, leaves the imaging chamber, and Sam is left to his own devices to ride Widowmaker, and he does successfully.
Mhm.
And so, proving it to Tess and Chance and the rest of the ranch hands, he gets into his Jeep, and it's like, well, you won. And he's like, I wasn't doing it for Tess. I was doing it for me. I was proving it to myself.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't want her to be forced into marriage. He thinks it should be her choice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when he gives her the diary after this.
Yes. And he professes Doc's love for her. And again, I think this is one of the things. And he even does sort of a look out the window and sort of a lamentation of, I hope this heartbreak of being rejected by Tess isn't as bad as all the other times that he had been in his actual life.
Yes, this is how leaping is actually affecting Sam Becket himself.
Yes.
And all depending on how much he remembers as he leaps.
And so hands her the diary, and this is where they dance with no music, I think. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But as they dance, then Wayne shows up, right?
Yes, after they dance and after they kiss,
Mm-hmm.
Wayne will show up. Because
Oh, heavens. Wayne looks like, I don't know, maybe it's, I don't know. I don't think I'm allowed to say the things I'm allowed to say, or I want to say about this particular outfit that Wayne is wearing, just because you're obviously of a Texan persuasion. He looks ridiculous.
yeah, he has a bow tie.
A bolo.
Bolo tie. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not married to stereotypical Texas wear, so you can say what you like.
Okay, well, he's a formal cowboy at this point. Very Marlboro man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
And now Wayne professes his adoration for Tess.
Yes, also with the stack of literature.
Mm-hmm. Which is confusing because now we have love letters, and that is the person that Tess is supposed to marry is the person with the love letters, and so it's a little confusing to Sam. So
Yep.
this is the most awkward thing I have ever seen in courtship. Do you mind if I peruse your love letters while you both sit there, both of my suitors? And then she asks Sam, is it okay if I try dancing with him just to see how it feels? And it's like, he's not a car. You don't test drive him.
At least, not for just a couple of seconds. That doesn't really tell you anything.
Right. And no music again.
No music. No music while dancing.
No music while dancing. Wayne doesn't know how to dance. It's okay. She'll lead. So,
I'm sure there was music for at least one of these dances. There has to be. I'm going to go back and
I'm gonna double check as well, but I think Pleasant Valley Picker has a good point in the comments when we switch the slides. But yes, nursed back to health.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, the Piggy's doing great.
Piggy's doing great.
Yeah, at least one of his girls didn't leave or whatever he says.
Yes. Yes, and so Al comes back with good news. Tina is back with Al, sent Gushy packing with a case full of mouthwash. And so, if they get, and so now Ziggy is saying that I guess that as soon as Wayne and Tess say I do, you'll be leaping out. But don't feel too badly about being the jilted lover. Take a look in the mirror, ya lanky old weirdo.
This episode sure makes you wait for the end to finally get the result. There are only 3 minutes left. We finally get the mirror reveal.
We get the mirror reveal, and he's kind of a dweeb.
Yeah, but he looks fine. I don't know what Al means when he says. I mean, he has a lot to overcome.
Well, and I was kind of confused by that as well, and I was like, well, he's not fugly.
No, he's not.
And then he takes off his hat, and he's kind of balding, and then I was like, okay. So I suppose if there is an escalation of hotness, it would probably go, and this is again just me in terms of the aesthetics of the three gentlemen involved, it would go Doc is last, then Wayne is a better looking dude than Doc,
Hmm.
and then obviously Sam is the best looking out of all of them.
Of course, but nobody can see that,
That's true.
Scotty. That doesn't count.
Well, then for the audience, if you're comparing both Wayne and Sam to Doc, it's like, yeah, it's too bad that Doc doesn't look like Sam.
Hmm. Right.
So there's
So
there's
the implication here,
yes, yes.
for me, that despite all of the efforts that Doc went through to working to be a hand ranch with Doc, Tess chooses Wayne anyway. And I guess just because of looks. I don't know. Were the letters better than the diary?
I would say so because the diary wasn't really intended for Tess, whereas the love
Right.
letters were. Like,
That's
I wrote
true.
you these letters,
Yeah.
and so it's more forthcoming.
Mhm. And
But Piggy has run out the front door, and our I can't say bespectacled as well as I'd like to roll it off the tongue.
be
Our
spectacled.
lad is on the front porch, strumming his guitar, sort of playing with the calls for Piggy Sue. At which point, he starts strumming Peggy Sue by Buddy Holly. Sam finally figures out what his name is, and Buddy Holly starts singing Peggy Sue for the first time, and apparently, that is what Sam was back to do, was to inspire Buddy Holly to write the song Peggy Sue. Right?
Right. Well, according to the Quantum Leap universe, I believe in reality, I think it was a little bit different.
But this is a nice little moment too, because as soon as he starts singing Peggy Sue, Al turns to Sam and is just like, "Bye bye, that's it."
Yeah, right. And um, in reality, the title for the name, the song called Peggy Sue, comes from the girlfriend of Cricket's drummer Jerry Allison.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. So
And
Sam leaps. Sam leaps into a man with no pants wearing a bow tie, and an attractive young lady getting herself put back together, if you will. And she says, "You were fantastic. If I'm lying, I'm dying."
yep.
Oh, so that was an episode.
Yeah, that was an episode of Quantum Leap. And
That was
we
yeah.
have another one.
We do have another one. Before we get into that, I just wanted to say, talk to the chat for a bit because they're awesome. Stephen Ransom says, "Good grief, no kidding, Scotty. He's a grand man." Yes, this is not just a celebration of Quantum Leap, but this is your Thursday dose of Scott Bakula. And also, I just wanted to say thanks for hanging out in the afternoon with us, guys. This typically happens like 8 or 9 in the evening on Thursdays, but there's one Thursday a month that we'll be doing a matinee for anyone who can sort of tune in while they're at work or at the gym or sort of looking for a daytime Quantum Leap. Pleasant Valley Picker says, "Was this filmed in California? Just wondering." I don't know. I don't know where the filming location was. I really like the mountains. It would make sense that it would be filmed in California. PvP goes on to say, "Wasn't a lot of the music replaced on the DVDs?" I'm curious about that myself. Last week there were some songs like played some licensed songs, and I was curious about it throughout. I didn't get an opportunity to go and check and see if there were any sort of edits because licensing rights for music is usually a stumbling block when it comes to these things, these older television shows. I know that WKRP was wrapped up for a long time in music rights. But as you mentioned, Jill, they were playing the Hank Williams song, so I don't know. I don't know if it's just a matter of it being 1956 and there's no radio reception.
That's a good question.
Pleasant Valley Picker says, since Sam won't be staying, is it right he makes moves on her? That's been a question. We had that last week when he sort of preemptively met his future ex-fiancée, and it turned out to be rather creepy in terms of the pursuits that Sam was making. How do you feel about it, Jill? Do you think that it's weird or...
Well, of course it's weird, but he's not doing it for Sam. He's doing it for the person he's leaped into.
True. Unsuccessfully, though.
Yeah, he failed.
So this is going to be an awkward conversation between Doc and Tess no matter what, right? He's going to be like, you read my diary?
Mm-hmm. Well, she knows how he feels for forever.
Forever.
And he still lives on the ranch and ostensibly will continue to do so.
Yeah. And that's just, that he's created an incredibly awkward situation for Doc.
Okay.
Stephen Ransom says, is it me or does this, Sam and his leap body, remind anyone of the Wonder Woman 1984 dilemma? I haven't seen Wonder Woman 1984, but I think I understand your meaning just in terms of Steve Trevor takes over someone else's body and Wonder Woman essentially takes advantage of the guy in the new, or the other guy's body.
Well, this is a reverse of that, though.
This would be, yes, because in that one, Steve Trevor knows that he's Steve Trevor, and so they're just, usurping the innocent man's body for their own personal... So yeah, no, this is better. This is better than Wonder Woman 1984.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Simone says, Texan persuasion. Not that there's anything wrong with that. No, not at all. Not at all. It's just the bolo tie, and also, hat head. Pleasant Valley Picker says, Sam a gigolo? Yes. No, he's not. I'm sorry. I can't be that flippant. Sam is not a gigolo. Sam is traveling through time to make right what once went wrong. And thanks to Sam, we got the song Peggy Sue. In a different way than would have originally happened. We're still trying to figure out what timeline this is, too. And PvP says, laugh out loud, wish I could tune in at work. Well, you're always, thank you for being with us today, PvP. And if you can't be with us at work when we happen to be broadcasting when you're at work, feel free to check us out in the replay. And thank you to all the lurkers as well.
And well, if we were following proper time travel rules, every single leap would be a different reality. But this show doesn't play out that way. If you can't make something right that once went wrong, if every leap is a different reality. So it is all the same reality because a higher power is making it so.
Yes, at least that is the implication. Now, before we move on to double identity, because I'm going to have several guest stars that I think people are going to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if I was able to see one.
Simone in the chat is, all, as I mentioned again, over at the Fantasmagorium Facebook page, sent me Quantum Leap Bingo, which plays nicely into this episode. And some of the squares for Quantum Leap Bingo, and it is posted again in the Facebook page. One square is Sam gets upset. The theme song lasts 2 times longer than it should, which I don't think should be a square, because if I would listen to an hour-long version of the Quantum Leap episode or theme song. Sam talks to himself, or Al, way too long in public. Al talks about an old job he had. Al quotes a percentage chance something will happen. A U.S. president.
That always happens.
I know. That's like, there's almost a free square. A U.S. president is mentioned, which happens in both of these episodes. Sam can't get out of a situation. Sudden disdain, which I can understand that. Al forgets he's a hologram and tries to help, which is really entertaining when it does happen. Someone gets sexually harassed. I think that's happened in every episode so far. Al hits his handheld device. I love it when he whacks the hand link. Sam wears a uniform. Sam saves a life. Al acts like a dirty old man, which
Again,
Yeah,
every episode.
frequently. Ripped off of a movie plot line. Sam conveniently sees the current date. Al mentions an ex. Sam seems to really enjoy doing a chore. Mother figure is mean to someone. Sam sings, which happens in this episode. Al mentions Ziggy, which, again, almost every episode. Sam gets mad at an animal. He was just a vet, but he never got mad, I don't think. Sam leaves the person
Nope.
he's protecting alone. Sam saves the day. And finally, on our bingo card, Al acts like a backseat driver. But the center square, the free square that you would get in any bingo, is Sam saves a life, which, yeah, pretty much happens every episode. So, yeah, that is
Except for
Quantum
the
Leap
last
Bingo.
one.
Thanks, Simone. Al acts like a backseat driver. Oh, but he, like, in the test pilot one, he definitely did.
Definitely. And
But
in this one, he tried to distract a horse, but that didn't work out.
no, it didn't, because he himself got distracted by Tina. So, on to Double Identity. Sam wakes up, again, bottomless and looking like he's in formal wear.
So this episode first aired on April  21st, 1989. It was written by Donald P. Belisario, the creator of the series, and it was directed by Aaron Lipstadt. Sam
Excellent.
leaps out of Texas into South Brooklyn in November 8th, 1965, during an Italian wedding. He's leapt into a hitman named Frankie, who's just made love with Teresa, the
Which,
girlfriend. Oh, yeah?
yeah, of Don,
Gino.
Don Gino. And, yeah, in the attic at a wedding. And Sam is like, wow, I'm not here to do anything about this guy's good looks. Do you find this gentleman to be all of that attractive?
He's okay, but no, not really.
Okay, I'm just curious, getting a lady's perspective is all.
Yeah.
But he seems to think this guy is a
He's
hot
pretty
tamale.
he's pretty happy with himself for sure. Sam disagrees with me.
And so, at the wedding, this gentleman right here is Nick Cassavetes. That is the son of Sam Cassavetes? Nick Cassavetes. This is Nick Cassavetes, director of son of the director Cassavetes. You may remember this gentleman from the movie Face Off. He was the bald guy who helps Nicolas Cage's Castor Troy, and also a director in his own right. But started off as a guest star in many television shows and movies.
Yes, but okay, that's his actor's name. But in this episode, he's Frankie's brother, Primo,
Yes.
and he's getting married to Angela, who is Don Gino's daughter.
Yes. Which seems to be some sort of ploy to get into the family.
That's all it is. Yes, it's all just a Game of Thrones thing.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so
And
the boys are being boys,
yeah,
doing wedding things. And who do we have here?
Mark Margolis.
Yes. And what do you think his claim to fame is, Jill?
He played Hector Salamanca in Breaking Bad. I know he has lots of other roles. I've seen him around.
I didn't think that you would go for that one. I was expecting you to say, and I'm sure he has quite the resume. He's been in a lot of stuff. You know him from many things. But my instant reaction was, hey, is that Dr. Nell Apgar from the Star Trek The Next Generation episode, A Matter of Perspective?
Hey, that's a good one. Yes, that's right.
So that's Mark Margolis. I knew as soon as I saw it, I was like, I think he was on Breaking Bad. But Star Trek The Next Generation? Come on.
I can always trust you to bring up the Star Trek.
It's one of my favorite things. And so, yeah, that's Mark Margolis playing a mob enforcer which
right.
not a big stretch. Seems to
Yeah.
be a thing he does often.
Yeah. Oh, right now I remember that the Star Trek episode was the one where it's like a murder mystery or something
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
on the
and they
holodeck.
right because Riker is supposed to have killed Dr. Apgar to get with his wife or something like that.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Riker? What kind of a fool do you take me for? And then he blows
He
up.
was really good in that episode.
He was.
But here he's playing a character called Adriano.
Yes. Just keeping an eye because apparently someone is cheating on with Don Gino's Maul, I suppose, would be the term for the kept woman of a gangster.
Mm. And we get all sorts of Italian stereotypes, but they're really sweetly done. You know, nothing bad.
Yeah, it's
Except
not
for,
really,
yeah.
except for.
Oh, well, I don't know. Just the whole mafia thing in general.
Well, the mafia thing, yeah, totally.
But everything else is cute.
Yes. And there we have two people who I really enjoy. We've got Joe Santos in the chair, who is best remembered as the best friend of, oh my stars. Yes, Ellie, best friend of Jim Rockford in The Rockford Files. He plays Lieutenant Dennis Becker, and I recognized him immediately. I know he's been in a bunch of other stuff, but that's where I remember him from primarily, because I do love The Rockford Files, which you can hear all about next Sunday on our new podcast, The Rockford Files. We're not doing The Rockford Files, don't worry.
No, okay. If you did, you'd have to ask Clobberin Times, because I haven't seen.
Oh, that's true. Clobberin Times is a big fan of The Rockford Files.
I don't know what this scene is about. She just
Yep.
she's just playing the game and showing everyone what's up her skirt.
I think that she's measuring the bocce balls to see if, because they're betting on the bocce, and Don Gino apparently claims to have been winning, and she goes in with a tape measure and says, "Nope, sorry." And so,
that he's been cheating.
Yes.
Okay, that's what it was.
everyone's sort of bowing down to Don Gino because he is the head of the crime family, and so if he wants to win, you let him win.
But she calls him out on it. Okay, that's what the point in the scene was. Then.
Yes, and I don't know if you remember, Jill. This is the last of my trifecta of actors that I recognize from this episode. Is Mike Genovese, who you may remember from the second season episode of Star Trek The Next Generation as the desk sergeant in The Big Goodbye. Pardon me, first season episode, The Big Goodbye. That's the one where Dr. Crusher is chewing the gum and swallows it, and he has a fancy for Dr. Crusher. So he's in a Next Generation episode, and apparently he played Zeph No in the Star Trek Deep Space Nine second season episode, The Circle. So two-time Star Trek actor, Mike Genovese.
Mike Genovese. Cool. That's great.
Yep, that's it. I won't interrupt with more random casting.
Well, you know what? If it's an actor from the Star Trek universe, I want to hear about it.
Oh, and you will.
Good.
Yep. So, Teresa is really not... She seems to... well, first of all, she says she's not Don Gino's girl anymore. They seem to have broken it off, but Don Gino's not having any of it.
Right. She's been trying to end the relationship, but he's really forceful, saying they're not over till he says or whatever.
To the point that she says, well, you know me, my type is anyone over the age of 14 who will talk to me. Which I found, really? Okay.
Well, she doesn't necessarily say that. Well,
no, she says that specifically.
No, she says that he would be upset at any boy over 14 talking to her.
Oh, then I misunderstood. Then I apologize for casting aspersions at Teresa.
Yeah, you did.
I did. Uh,
And
and so,
Sam
Sam
discovers.
doesn't speak Italian.
Yeah, he doesn't realize that Frankie's supposed to be proficient in it.
Well, he's part of an Italian crime family. I would assume that he. But it does provide a cute moment later.
Well, but this guy here, he doesn't speak it. It happens a lot in oh well, I'm not Italian, but I have Mexican heritage, and it's a little similar thing where you get down the generations, and sometimes the language is lost. Where one parent decides not to teach the children, and then I don't know Spanish very well, so
Neither do I.
just because my grandma decided to stop teaching it.
Oh, I have no ties to Spanish.
Hmm.
Anyway, sorry.
But this guy doesn't know it either, so it happens.
It does. And so, for some reason, everyone is really, really excited for the hitman to sing.
Yeah, so he must be very good.
It's also one of the bingo squares. Sam sings.
Sam sings, and this is the second time he sings. But this is the first time he has an audience for it.
Yes. Yes. And so, now I have a question for you because this is, again, I'm sort of gauging my own performance against what Sam can do. If someone were to ask me to sing Volare, no dice. I wouldn't be able to do it without Al's help.
I wouldn't. I don't think I'd be able to do it with Al's help. Sam does a really great job improvising once he's got the lyrics.
Yeah, once he figures it out, it's kind of rough at the beginning, and everyone's sort of looking at him like, "Wait, you're supposed to be better than this." But then he gets into it, and then
Hmm.
that's when. Oh, and Teresa has the eyes for Frankie.
She does.
And this is when the discussion as to where Teresa and Frankie may have been for the last 20 minutes.
Well, they don't know yet that Frankie is the lover at this point.
True. But yeah. But they're on the lookout for someone who could be
Hmm.
making moves.
And whoever that might be, they're going to kill that person.
Mm-hmm. As you do.
Hmm. The only logical choice.
Yeah. So, and oh, also, meanwhile, back at the future, apparently Ziggy is a little self-conscious for a computer and has decided to divert all of their computational and energy towards trying to figure out how to get Sam home. So they've shut off the environmental controls, even though the imaging chamber is supposed to be air conditioned.
And so Al is sweating profusely.
Yes, yes. I need a shirt like that.
Hmm.
Sam has figured out, he's like, oh, 1965. I was 10 years old. Lyndon Johnson is the president. I don't know how this helps at all. And it's like, yeah, but Sandy Koufax pitches a perfect game, which doesn't help Sam at all.
No, I mean, what does the sports ball reference have to do with anything?
It. Don't forget, it's the late 80s. The frames of reference, the sort of nostalgia for 1965 in 1989 would have been a bit stronger.
You're right. Okay. And I guess I did look up that Sandy Koufax was from the LA Dodgers, and he pitched a perfect game against the Chicago Cubs
Oh, wow.
that year on September 9th.
Oh, my stars, Jill. You looked up a sports ball statistic?
I did, just for
Thank
this
you.
show. You're
Thank
welcome.
you. That's awesome. But we're not 100% sure as to what or why Sam has leapt into Frankie. And this is when Al tells Sam, yeah, you're a hitman for the mafia. And he's like, I'm what?
Banga, banga, banga.
Yes. And then says, and I guess this is yours, and shows him his gun. Well, what am I going to do with this? Well, if you have to shoot anybody, just make sure you take the safety off.
Hmm. And Ziggy seems to have an idea to bring Sam back home, but Sam will have to follow a series of strange instructions to make it work.
Yes. Now we have the brothers walking down the street, and this is where we find out that Nick Cassavetes, or his character's name, I forget. What's his name again?
Primo and Segundo. Like it's
Okay,
like
so
first
Primo.
and it's like first and second um in Italian are the names of Frankie's brothers.
Wow, that's okay. So Primo is expressing the fact that yeah, he's okay with Angela. He likes her. But this is where it's revealed that the entire thing was just a ploy to get into the family. If you're the son-in-law of Don Gino, then you are in the business, and that's what he wants. And so Sam, as Frankie, sees Teresa cutting hair in a salon and decides to go in for a trim in 1965. Not something that was readily done, but Sam's going to go for it because he's thinking that it probably. Why does Sam always think that the goal of his leaping into somebody is to make sure that they get married to someone?
Well, I don't know.
Well, I guess he did wake up with, in a compromising position, in
Yeah,
an
yeah. I
intimate
guess
situation.
he has to just guess based on his situation.
So he pursues it
Hmm.
and says he wants a little off the ears. But he also asks for a shampoo, which is in 1965 certainly not. Women weren't cutting men's hair, but that's another thing that Sam says. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to start the
Uh,
unisex
yes,
revolution.
he thinks he's going to be a trendsetter here, but everyone is just shocked, including Teresa, who thinks this is a dumb move because if Don Gino knew, Frankie would be dead.
True, and I can see that he's upset, as you would be. But luckily, Frankie's dad says, I told him to go in there so that he could hear what the ladies in the salon were saying, because they'll say stuff to their hairdressers that they won't say to anybody else. I'm doing it for you, Don Gino.
Yeah, they'll reveal who Teresa's, boyfriend
Love.
is.
Exactly. So, Don Gino, oh my. It's funny to see Nick Cassavetes with hair as well, because in Face Off
Hmm.
he's bald. So this is seeing the young version, and also Mark Margolis looks young as heck considering what he looked like in Breaking Bad.
He does. And he's not in a wheelchair ringing a bell.
True, not this time.
And he actually didn't even look as old as he did in Breaking Bad. Because they kind of aged him up because he had that disability.
True.
And so when he comes back in Better Call Saul, he's able to actually look younger just because he's not decrepit.
Yes. So we go into the salon. Don Gino does to sort of double check and make sure that Frankie's dad isn't lying to him about going in there. Why are you hanging out with Teresa? Why? What is this? You're a man in a ladies' salon. What kind of fongool are you? I'm sorry, I'm not going to use these stereotypes.
Well, speaking of that though, he doesn't ask the question in English. He asks in Italian. And in this episode, when Italian is required, our Italian hologram shows up to help again.
True. And so Don Gino says, "Bring me a razor." And so Teresa does. And I want a straight razor. And it's like, it's not a barbershop. Can't do it. So this is the old cliche of going into a barbershop and putting a razor to the throat of the man that you intend to threaten. But it looks a little dainty considering he has to take the razor blade out of the safety razor
Hmm.
and threaten Frankie with it as such. And is again, yeah, he's asking in Italian, and Al is prompting Sam with what to say to support what has transpired outside.
And I really like hearing Al speak Italian. It's clear that he's very fluent in it, but it's also clear that he doesn't speak it too often, so it's a bit stilted too. So that was a really neat touch.
Well, and he starts off with brief sentences and then starts going into it with a little bit too much, too long to sort of repeat after me. At the beginning, it's sort of like Simon Says, and then it develops
Hmm.
into give this soliloquy.
Yes, and then he gets into it too much, and he gets better at it, but it goes too fast for Sam. So he shortens the entire sentence down for him.
Well, and it's also fun because Sam is looking to Al for his
Mhm.
cues, and Don Gino is sort of, what are you looking at? He's just sort of confused as to why he's looking off to his left.
Yes, anytime Sam looks in a direction, Don looks in the same direction.
Yes, and so there's the entire family and sort of talking about what's going on in terms of being part of the family, being part of the mob family. And the dad says, "You okay?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm great." Sam says, "Oh, it's fine. Everything's just marvelous." And this is one of those situations where Sam is standing on the street talking to Al for a significant period of time. And this did occur to me even before I saw the bingo card. He must look like a crazy person talking to himself.
Absolutely. And here, Al explains the full theory on how Ziggy wants to bring Sam home to the present. First, Sam has to duplicate the event that was occurring just before he leaped in. So he has,
Sex.
yes, so he has to make love with Teresa in Don Gino's attic again.
Again.
At the same exact time, someone needs to plug in a hair dryer in a
In
specific place in New York,
in Buffalo.
Buffalo, Buffalo, New York.
Yes. So there's Sam's confused because he's like, well, how am I going to be in Buffalo and then 15 minutes later be in Don Gino's attic? And it's like,
Oh,
I don't know.
and I remember what this scene was about. The only
Oh,
reason for this scene was because Sam needs to take Nona to bingo to
oh,
make
right. I forgot about Nona and Bingo.
yeah, to make sure she wins.
Because she hasn't won in 3 years.
Hmm.
So, and this is again with the hand link, uh, trying to figure out what needs to be done. And so, yeah, Sam calls up Teresa at the salon and says, basically, would you like to meet me at Don Gino's attic to go and have sex? It was the most amazing place. You were terrific in Don Gino's attic. And so Teresa starts even better than under the L, under the table at this restaurant in the back of the church, and just listing off all the places that they've been intimate. And he says, no, no, nowhere has been as good as Don Gino's attic. And so, oh, and also, he sends his brothers to go to Buffalo, or to go to the salon, get a hairdresser, go to Buffalo, and plug it in at a specific address. And so he sends them, and they are sort of like, I don't understand. Why are we doing this? And it's like, well, if Frankie wants this, we got to do it. And so they go, and they end up, or so they go to Buffalo, and Sam and Teresa end up in Don Gino's attic, which completely confuses Teresa, but she's willing to because she is in love with Frankie, and I guess this would just be sort of a hot tryst. The danger of making whoopee in the mob boss's attic, and so they don't slow dance,
Oh,
but
I'm
they.
sorry. I was talking and I I was muted the entire
Oh,
time.
I thought you had to step away for a moment, so I was sort of vamping. Anyway,
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sam so Sam convinces Teresa to meet him in the attic, like we just said.
yep,
And he describes one act of lovemaking as awesome, which Teresa decides is a great saying. She's never heard of it.
yeah. There
And
you go. And I know you're a fan of the anachronisms of that sort of vernacular being brought up too early in the timeline, if you will.
well, yeah, I like the etymology of things. And the word has been around since the 1500s, but it used to have a meaning of dread or awfulness until 1961, when it was
Oh,
first presented to mean impressive or very good. However, this definition didn't become popular until around the late 70s and early 80s.
that's awesome.
Yep.
So she wants to be awesome for Sam. And so this is when Mark Margolis tells Don Gino, I know where Frankie and Teresa are. Saw them in your attic. They were shuffling up the side of the building. And so Don Gino puts a silencer on his gun and intends to go and kill the man who is sexing his not girlfriend. Which seems, the rational thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you're a gangster in 1965. There's nary a policeman in sight in any of these shows so far.
Right. Now, yeah, you can wield a weapon whenever you want.
Of course.
Great.
And so they're starting to get at it. And Sam is like, do you know what time it is? And she's like, I'm getting all hot and bothered and you're worried about the time? What is this? And he starts sort of coyly explaining, this is very important. It has to do with our future.
And so she says, so do the stars have to align perfectly? And he's like, yeah, actually, that's exactly it. And he says, Betelgeuse and Orion has to be aligned with the North Celestial Pole.
Yes. And Teresa's really impressed. It's like, I didn't know you knew about the stars. And here's a little digression about the stars. I just found out that apparently Betelgeuse is supposed to go nova soon.
Betelgeuse is supposed to go nova soon. Very
That,
cool.
yeah, I heard about that. And so I was like, hey, this is fun watching Quantum Leap, and it kind of fits in. The stars are aligning because it was the first time I was falling down an astronomical or astrological, no, astronomical rabbit hole, and I found out that there is actually a watch to see when it goes nova. It will be very bright for a long time.
Okay, but when it goes nova, though, it takes a certain amount of time to reach us here on Earth. So,
Yes. Well, the rabbit hole
we won't.
started because there was like a live YouTube channel that was like the countdown to Betelgeuse's nova, and the chat in it, because there were like 10 people watching, and it's like, when's it supposed to go nova? And they were like, sometime in the next 100,000 years. So,
Okay, so soon in cosmological terms, not in us terms.
exactly. Yeah. You can't set your watch to it, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yes. Oh, right. Meanwhile, in Buffalo, um, Nick Cassavetes is there, and he's got his hair dryer, and a frat boy comes out because they show up at the Alpha Theta frat house. There's a little bit of wordplay. It's like, I didn't know AMP was Greek, because the old grocery store, the old supermarket AMP,
Yeah, that earns that brother a slap from the other brother.
as it should. So anyway, he gets confronted by one of the frat boys, and he says, "Where can I plug this in?" And it's like, and the frat boy is like, "Oh, I'll tell you where you can plug it in." At which point, he draws a gun on the man. So the frat boy says, "You can plug it in over here."
Yeah, that ends the conversation very quickly.
Yeah. But he plugs it in, turns it on, which leads to the Great Northeast Blackout of 1965.
Yeah, it causes a massive electrical surge. It looks like an explosive firework when it goes off.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, as you say, it causes the blackout of the East Coast.
The Northeast Blackout of 1965 was a significant disruption in the supply of electricity on Tuesday, November 9th, 1965, which, again, being a time travel show, it accurately sets the story within. And it affects parts of Ontario in Canada and Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Vermont in the United States. Over 30 million people and 80,000 square miles were left without electricity for up to 13 hours. And who can we thank for that? Ziggy.
Thanks, Ziggy.
Thanks, Ziggy.
And good looking up on that one.
Well, I thought it would because, well, do you? I don't know because it wouldn't have affected you, I don't think, but it reminded me because it was August. It was August 2003. There was a similar sort of eastern seaboard blackout in Ontario and, well, the east coast of the United States as well, but Ontario and Quebec as well. And so it reminded me of that, and it was interesting to know that it had happened before.
Yeah, that is interesting. I hadn't considered this was a real historical event, so that's so cool that you looked that up.
Well, and yeah, but that's part of the fun. So anyway,
Yeah, it is.
Don Gino shows up with a gun to, do the murder.
Yep.
And while all of this is happening, so all of the power is going out, and Teresa and Sam are sort of covering for each other. It's like, oh no, I wasn't trying to do anything with Teresa. Teresa is like, oh, I was trying. He loves me, but he didn't want to. And so anyway, it's sort of like almost farcical.
Yeah, but then the power goes out, and distracted Sam knocks Gino and grabs his gun and
Swaps leap.
yeah.
So Sam from Frankie into Don Gino.
Yeah, so
Which-
now he's not leaped into Frankie, he's leaped in Don Gino.
And so he gets up and he checks out his. I was really excited. I was happy because again, Don Gino had the gun and he's got the silencer, and you hear the silencer, like you hear the gun go off a couple of times. I was like, oh, I hope Teresa doesn't die.
That was my idea too. I was like, oh no, Miss Teresa is in danger, but I'm glad that doesn't happen. And this was the first attempt to leap home, first failed attempt.
And so Sam again checks out his leapy reflection, and he is in Don Gino's body. And so luckily, no one's going to get shot, considering that Don Gino has the gun. But he puts it down. Sam puts the gun down and picks up his hat and sort of plays matchmaker for Frankie and Teresa so that nobody dies and they get to be together. But there is one more thing that they have to do during this blackout. They have to make it so that Don Gino is going to be okay with this when he returns from the waiting room in the future. Sam has to manipulate the situation so that everybody in Brooklyn is going to be aware of the fact that Don Gino gave his blessing between Frankie and Teresa.
Yes, so they give a official public blessing here at the bingo, at the church where they're having bingo.
Yes. And they announce it. Al shows up again. Hey, this is the same sort of situation as the last episode. Al shows up. Anyway, he's not hot anymore. He's wearing,
Now he's
obviously,
cold.
It's cold because Project Quantum Leap is in the desert. You know how it is. It's hot as blazes during the day, but cold, cold, cold at night. And so he's like, don't worry, it'll be fine. It'll be hot again tomorrow. And says, well, yeah, apparently those two get together and you should be leaping out as soon as they say I do. And it's like, well, when is that going to be? Sam is like, am I going to be a mob boss for the next 40 years? And Al says, nope. Don Gino gets offed in April. So he's like, uh-oh. But then they realize that the reason that they are here wasn't to cause the blackout, wasn't to save Frankie or Teresa, not to put them together, but Nona needed to win at bingo.
So I guess the Frankie from the other timeline did not help Nona win bingo.
Right.
So Sam does it.
And as soon as she yells bingo, Sam leaps. Are we going home, Jill? Is he going to go home?
No.
Where does he show up?
He does not go home. He ends up in a diner or ice cream shop.
Like a lunch counter. Oh, my stars!
Mhm.
He is a man of African American descent now, and he's sitting at the counter. I wonder what year it will be.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
this is also, I just wanted to point this out because I've been waiting for it. They've been sort of working in "Oh boy,"
Hmm.
but they haven't really made it the catchphrase of the end of the episode or the beginning quite yet. But we will get to a point where once Sam catches himself at the end of each episode, he does say, "Oh boy."
Oh boy. And yeah, like you said, he still doesn't leap home. And Al says this is because Sam didn't follow Ziggy's directions perfectly. So
To the
Sam,
decimal. Yeah.
yeah, to the decimal.
And I know I'm kind of being flippant about it, saying that Sam actually had to go back and make it so that Nono won at bingo. I think it's
Hmm.
just the one last piece of the puzzle. So Don Gino didn't have the opportunity to kill Frankie, which is good. Teresa still is alive, which I'm assuming is something that could have happened, could have gone horribly wrong. But yeah. Oh, and also one of the provisos, if you will, of Don Gino giving the blessing to Frankie and Teresa is that no more bango, bango, bango. You're out of the business. So
That's
no
right.
more killings.
That's right. He no longer has to be a hitman.
Right. So I think there is some good that was done here, as opposed to just helping with, Do you, and even with the
Right.
last episode, do you think that it was all about getting Buddy Holly to sing Peggy Sue, or was that just sort of an ancillary last part of the pie?
Hmm. Um, I guess so. The thing is, I don't really like that episode that much because I feel like that episode should have been about Tess being able
Mm.
to control the ranch and being able to uh, find a partner who wants to work with her. And we know from the letters that this man loves her, but we don't know anything about him to know that he's going to act more like a partner rather than someone who's just going to take over the ranch and just push her away.
That's true, but I also have a little bit more faith in Wayne. Like, again,
Hmm.
part of the reason why we're going through these episodes is because the way that things are in terms of fandom and in terms of pop culture, and if you go on YouTube, you're going to find 1,000 things about why the Rings of Power sucks. But this is such a wholesome, pleasant, fun kind of thing. There's danger, of course. There's adventure that goes on, obviously, but it is something where Sam is genuinely trying to help people. And when it comes to Wayne and Tess, the fact that Tess led during their dance with what could have been without music or with music if the licensing rights to the songs go, like, I I think that if he was sort of a misogynist cowboy from the era, he would have said, "I ain't letting no lady lead me in a dance."
Well, maybe that's true.
So I
I,
had a little
I
bit of
I
faith
didn't
in Wayne.
I didn't see any outward signs that he was that way, but I didn't see any balance one way or the other. I just don't know anything about him.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, aside from the fact that he's more than willing to have Doc lose a thumb.
Yep, and become paralyzed by falling off a horse and getting trampled by it
There is that too, yes. Okay, so maybe Wayne's a bit of a jerk.
just a bit.
Anyway, so that's your Quantum Leap double header for today.
Yep.
What I don't want to rank them out
No,
of the
we're not.
two.
I don't think we need to rank Quantum Leap.
I don't think we
It's
need to either. But out of the two that we watched today, which one was your favorite? I'm going with Double Identity just because there were two Star Trek actors, a Rockford Files actor.
Yeah, I was leaning that way too. Not only that, but we get more science in the episode, more about Ziggy, more about the project, an attempt to leap home. This is the first attempt to leap home, the first failure, and
Yes,
that's fun.
as opposed to just finding him throughout time. So that was
Mhm.
fun. Yeah, and also, and as let me see, I think it was either Pleasant Valley Picker or Stephen Ransom said, "Is this a ripoff of The Godfather?" There's certainly some shades of The Godfather in this episode.
Absolutely, but actually, they don't really play too much into the mafia aspect at all. There's no mafia plot really, except for that Don Gino wants to kill Frankie, but there's no like heist or anything weird.
No,
It's
not
just
in this
it's
one.
just it's just about Sam
Frankie,
and
Teresa, Don
Frankie
Gino, and Bingo.
and Bingo and Ziggy and yeah,
All right. Well,
and Al sweating profusely.
Al sweating profusely. And I'm really getting to. I'm really enjoying the friendship. Like again, it's one of the things that I think is lacking, at least from the first episode. I may go and check out episode 2 of the new Quantum Leap, but there's something about the bromance and the friendship that goes on between Sam and Al that really makes me happy.
And not only that, Ziggy is a character. It's becoming more and more. I don't know if it's becoming self-aware or what is going on with that algorithm, but it going crazy to make all of the people in the station uncomfortable, turning off the power to so many systems.
Well,
It
to yeah,
seems a
to
bit
prioritize.
outrageous. Hmm.
Yeah, to prioritize bringing Sam home. And I think, I don't know, I could be wrong and I'm going to keep an eye on this, but in terms of Ziggy, at the beginning of the series, I was shocked when they're referring to Ziggy as he, because if I remembered correctly, I always thought that later on in the series they refer to Ziggy as a she.
Hmm.
So we'll have to
Okay.
keep an eye on that as we move forward.
Okay.
But
Right now, I guess he's a he, and then
yeah,
it'll evolve.
oh yeah, absolutely. But it's a computer AI that was developed by Sam Becket himself, and so yeah, it's fantastic. I like that Ziggy is a character. We get Ziggy and Gushy, we don't see them, but again, this is sort of the exposition that makes their friendship sort of more believable in terms of helping Sam, and I like it. It fills my heart with the joys.
Me too.
Shall we check out the chat?
Absolutely. I've been
Uh,
waiting for you to say that.
oh well, jump in anytime, Jill. Heavens. Uh, Pleasant Valley Picker says Rockford Files rocks. Bad pun. Sorry, I'll allow it because the Rockford Files does rock. Pleasant Valley Picker says so. It was Pleasant Valley Picker. I apologize for getting you confused with Stephen Ransom. So this is a Godfather inspired episode. It would seem definitely shadows of it. Absolutely. PvP goes on to say, over the age of 14, wouldn't get that line on TV these days. Well, and same sort of situation that we had on how the test was won. You know, men are good at some things, and women are good at having babies. So there are situations where there are lines that probably wouldn't make it up in modern television. Pleasant Valley Picker goes on to say, yes, Scotty is right. Always put the show into the context of its time. Well, and when you have those sort of nostalgic time travel shows, it's a stronger nostalgia for the people who would have been, between 25 and 40. They would have more sort of nostalgia for the 50s and the 60s, sort of the same way that we would about the 90s and the 2000s now, 80s, 90s, 2000s now. Pleasant Valley Picker. Oh, no, I had that one. Simone says, Sam loves love. Yeah, he's not a gigolo. He's just a big fan of love. Stephen Ransom says, Sam maybe think about relationships because when he left his time, not so Swiss cheese as he thought. Sam may maybe think about relationships because he was in one when he left in his time. Well, we haven't really heard anything about aside from Donna from the second episode. We haven't heard much about the love life. And PvP, no, he's not a gigolo. I don't think he's a gigolo.
No, he's not.
Stephen Ransom says, to you, Jill.
You love the history of words too? Etymology is one of my favorite talking points, or thought perspectives.
Oh, his love grows for you, Jill. PvP says, Scotty, aren't the stars light? We thousands of years old. Betelgeuse would have already gone nova. Yeah, it was a thing that I just caught on YouTube. I don't know the hard facts, but I
So
thought
of course it's possible it's gone nova, but the news doesn't reach us because of the light travel required for us to see it.
exactly. And in this particular instance, I suppose we have to wait for the news to travel at the speed of light. Stephen Ransom says, mid-episode leap. Wow! Forgot that was a thing. That creates all kinds of fun for the question of what or who is motivating the leap selection. True. And that comes into play later, and it is also a situation where eventually we're going to end up bumping into evil leapers as well.
Science News says Beetlejuice went dark, but it didn't go supernova. Sorry, I got distracted.
No. Thank you for fact checking my ridiculousness. And I
No,
think
not ridiculous.
Simone says bingo. It's true. Good for
Oh,
Nona.
she got bingo. Yes. Oh, for Nona. Oh, I thought she was playing Quantum Leap bingo. Sorry.
Oh, she could have been. She could have been. That entire card seems like every episode though. So,
Yeah, I did.
PvP says the sun'll come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. I think we just got demonetized. And that was my fault. PvP says thank you, Scotty
That's
and
beautiful.
Jill. Oh, it was okay. It wasn't that great. It was no Scott Bakula. I'll tell you that much.
No.
And Stephen Ransom says, what would the ranking icon be? Cigars? 3 cigars out of 5? I would probably go Ziggies. How many Ziggies? And then Stephen Ransom says 2. Oh boys. Oh yeah, no, that'd be a good one. How many oh boys would you give an episode? But again, we're not gonna rank them because there's too much love in it. Sorry, Snoopy's going a little squirrely. Dalek 451, good to see you, dude. Yeah, Ziggy is referred to as a female for most of the series. Well, we're still early in. We're only in episode 5 and 6, and so we're still getting he. And an AI could be male or female, just like Holly on Red Dwarf.
Yes, absolutely. On Red Dwarf, Holly starts off as a male and then meets the love of his life, which is another AI, and he takes on her form and becomes a female, but is still called Holly. And then he goes back to being male later. So it's just a
Wow.
thing that AIs can do.
Makes sense. I'm fine with it.
Hmm.
So yeah, I suppose that is episodes 5 and 6. We will be back next Thursday at our regularish time, right, Jill?
Yes. Yes,
And is
more
it-
at 7 or 8.
Yes. And how would it be best to
Central.
find you on the internet?
Well, I have a channel of my same name, Antiderivative Jill, where I post lots of Star Trek and science fiction podcasts. Then I also have a Twitter at Antiderivative1. So you can find me there too.
And is there anything coming up this week?
Yes. Yes. Tomorrow we'll be having a Plomeek tea time where we'll be discussing a theory about Star Trek 5 that has been put out there already, but we're going to see what our opinion on it is.
Whether it's a great Star Trek movie or the greatest Star Trek
Well,
movie?
whether or not everything. Okay, so this is a theory that I heard from Doomcock. I'm not sure if he's the first one to come up with it, but he's where I know it from. The theory is that everything that does not take place in Yosemite is Captain Kirk's dream.
This is going to be interesting. I can't wait to discuss it.
Yes.
And then Dalek says Hattie Hayridge was a great female Holly. Was great as female Holly, but yes, he started as male. Well, and again,
It's true. And again, you got to watch Red Dwarf.
I do.
I mean, I have thousands of movies to watch. You just have Red Dwarf and Stargate.
I've got other stuff to do. I was actually lying low while you were talking about Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul because they are holes in my pop culture knowledge. And then I guess Monday is going to be the animated series over on Pop Culture Curator, where we're going to be watching The Magics of Megas 2.
Yes. That's
and
right.
and then Charlie X on your channel on Tuesday, right?
Yes, Charlie X. I love Charlie X. This is going to be fun.
And as for myself, this weekend there will probably be a tribulation at some point. I know I'm going on Black Phillip Alvarez's show tomorrow evening. And next Wednesday, we are going to be having a very special return of Martinis, Gadgets, and Guns. Wow. Kat and I discuss the 50 or which anniversary? It's the anniversary of James Bond. I'd have to find out specifically which one, but we are going to be discussing the entire series of James Bond on its anniversary of the release of Doctor No. I think it's either the release of Doctor No or Casino Royale. I got to do my research, but that's what the weekend is for. All I know is it's a James Bond anniversary, and I'm looking forward to it. Hey, Twinflix is here. Hey, Twinflix, why am I not in this panel? On this panel, I'm a huge Quantum Leap fan. Oh, hey, Twinflix, I'll send you a message if you want to come on for next week. It'd be awesome. It'd be great to have you on. And Pleasant Valley Picker says Red Dwarf is awesome. I will look into it on everyone's recommendation. Anyway, I think that wraps it up for us, Jill.
Yes.
Do you want to say the thing?
It's your turn.
Is it my turn to say it?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.